And what's up, folks? This is Christopher Coleman with Tracksounds.com. I'm bringing you another In Context review. This time I'm reviewing Dawn of the Planet of the Apes with an original score by Michael Giacchino. How many of you have already seen this film? I'm betting a lot of you. But before I get my full review finished, that will be posted on Tracksounds, I wanted to do just an in-context review because this film is so great. This film is so entertaining and thrilling and wonderful and beautiful to look at and beautiful to listen to that I felt it necessary to do this special kind of review. It doesn't replace my full review, which is turning out to be quite the task in doing research, especially on the previous Apes scores. But we're focusing on Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Now, this was the direct sequel to Rise of the Planet of the Apes from 2011, which I'm sure, or I'm hoping most of you have seen. If you haven't, you absolutely need to see it. Not because you'll need to see it to understand Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, but because the stories are so tied together. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is a proper sequel. It picks up the story, not immediately following Rise of the Planet of the Apes, but a few years down the road. But in terms of the major beats of what's being told, it is a perfect sequel. Now, big shift. Directors, Rupert Wyatt was replaced by Matt Reeves, and along with Rupert Wyatt went Patrick Doyle, and onto the scene came one Michael Giacchino. We know him, we love him. There was a shift, a distinctive shift in the score. I did very much appreciate Patrick Doyle's main kind of rise theme that he used in the first movie. I was hoping that would bring over or would carry over into Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, but it doesn't. But for this in-context review, let me tell you, I went to an AMC theater in downtown Disney, Orlando. This is where I go most of the time. I was sat about halfway up into the theater. It's the exact same theater I saw Godzilla and had one of the worst audio movie experiences of my life. Same exact theater, about halfway up on the left side of that center section. And I'm happy to report that the sound mix and the sound quality and the volume was wonderful in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. It was wonderful. So how did Michael Giacchino's score work within that context? Well, as you might guess, it worked superbly. As many of you know who've already seen the film, it is a wonderful film. It is quite the thriller. And Michael Giacchino does some really wonderful things in this particular film. First off, he makes a decisive nod to Jerry Goldsmith's style in the original Planet of the Apes movie from 1968. He pulls in that impressionistic style, experimental. It really creates a sense of unease, just as it was in the original film. It is a bit of a departure from what Patrick Doyle did in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Giacchino also pulls in some similar instrumentation, some very unique instruments, which I'll talk about in my full review, which you'll find on Tracksounds.com later. He pulls in some very interesting instrumentation. But those nods, we love that about Giacchino. We love how he writes, assuming he writes his track titles and how humorous they are. But he pulls in this impressionistic style as the plot develops, and he wants to bring in that sense of fear and dread and kind of envelop the audience in it as we're seeing these things play out on screen. He just seals us in that feeling with that style, that very uneasy, creates that sense of unease. And you don't hear that style, kind of experimental, that impressionistic style, very often in a summer blockbuster film. And this very much is, but it's a very intelligent summer blockbuster film. And it's so wonderful that Michael Giacchino matches the intelligence of the film with his score. Now, he doesn't go quite as far as Goldsmith does experimentally within his score. He does layer in his signature sound throughout the score. It is most definitely a Michael Giacchino score. But he leans upon that impressionistic style, that experimental style that just brings this chilling aspect to the score. And it's one of the things you will take away from the film. But there are a few other things you'll take away from this film as you musically, as you see it and as you hear it in context. First, we have this harmonious, kind of peaceful title theme for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes by Michael Giacchino. It really is encapsulated by two simple notes on the piano most of the time. It's kind of this falling and rising, or rising and falling. I create it's kind of a down and up, falling and rising sort of shape. And it's a longer theme than that, but the core motif is just those two notes. And it's used many times throughout the score. Sometimes very simply and purely on piano, sometimes on harp, it's just plucked. At other times, the full-on orchestra just really goes for it. It's maybe done in an elongated fashion, but it's used throughout the film, and it's wonderful, and it gives you this really the sense of peace, but it's kind of a fragile peace. That's how I would describe it. Those two notes, I don't know how these composers do it. They like to take as few notes as possible and pull as much out as they can. And Giacchino does it here with those two notes. It's this fragile sort of peace that tells you, everything is good for now. Everything is peaceful for now. But we know that it doesn't stay that way. And that tensions are building and war is at hand. And that's really leading right into the second takeaway of this film musically, is what I call Koba's theme. And it's kind of the antithesis of that peaceful main theme. It's really six quick notes that also has a similar shape. Dun 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 dun. So it's a falling and rising sort of theme as well. But it's played. The notes are much quicker. It's often led. Those notes are belted out by the brass. It's very militaristic. It's underscored by percussion, a lot of percussion. And as the plot grows and develops, this theme grows, and it's played over the entire community of apes as they march forward to have their conflict with the humans, as they mobilize for war. You hear this theme more and more, and becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. And it really is beautiful. And then you contrast that with that peaceful, beautiful Apes theme that was originally played for us especially at the onset, not only at the onset of the film, but especially there. It is a wonderful score in context. It fits so well, tying itself to the original film, especially, which is 40 years old, 40, 50, very old. But also being modern in that he keeps it, Giacchino keeps it as a part of his own style and library that when you hear it, it's a Giacchino score. There are other elements that I wish I could get into. I'll do much more in my full review, but you get these dissonant strings, this Ligeti type style, that little kind of elements that we got in Godzilla, but not nearly enough. But with the Apes, with this kind of sound, this dissonant string thing and chorus, all weaving and swirling, it gives you definitely a vision of 2001: A Space Odyssey. So to wrap up, in context, Giacchino's score is certainly one of 2014's best. It's one of the most effective in context. His music, Giacchino's music, has a really crucial part to play in how the audience feels throughout this score. Now, it's not his most enjoyable score outside of that context. And it seems like his best scores in and out of context tend to come from original properties, not sequels, not reboots, but from original properties. And but that's not to take much away from this. Those of you who really love the film will probably love listening to this score repeatedly. It brings you back into the mindset and the feel of the film, especially that peaceful, harmonious ape theme, the two notes. Those of you who are Lost fans, especially of the early seasons, will recognize that structure and that style of theme. He uses it quite often, especially in the first season. It's almost the same two notes, not quite, or maybe different key, but the shape of it is the same. So I think that's what a lot of people are connecting to, because subconsciously it's bringing back that feeling of wonder that Lost had. He's used it in other scores as well. So in context, people, Michael Giacchino's score for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is superb. See the film, see it a couple times, experience the whole thing, the visuals, the audio, the music, all together makes for quite a wonderful experience. So, like I said, be on the lookout for more of these in context reviews. I already have one in the can for Guardians of the Galaxy, but I can't release it yet, but it's coming soon. So be looking on our YouTube channel for that. So if you like this style of thing, hey, give me a like here, throw me a bone and subscribe, share this with a few folks and say, hey, check this guy out. He's talking about music in context. What a concept. So thank you for watching and listening. Appreciate your feedback. Tell me what you thought about Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Michael Giacchino score in context in the comments below. I'll read them. And some other people will too. So thanks for listening. And until our next In Context, we'll see you later.